If Will Levis is QB1 for the Tennessee Titans, they must add speed to this wide receiver core. Michigan's Roman Wilson should be high up on the Tennessee Titans radar, and we're going to tell you why next on the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Locked On family? Let's get locked in. Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson, always on the ones and twos, and is always followed and always tapping in with your boy, Keith Sanchez, Mr. LSU. We are national scouts and senior draft analysts for the Draft Network, and you guys already know Keith is the one with the ring, the 2019 LSU national champion with them LSU Bengal Tigers. Guys, thank y'all for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers, man. But Keith, it's Happy Monday. You know what we like to do on Monday's show, Keith. Tell the people what we got coming up.
What's up, Locked On family? For today's show, man, we have our Monday recap. So you know what that means, right? We get draft radar, we get stock up, stock down, and then we get the game ball. But DP, before we get this thing started, man, why don't you hit them with our title sponsor?
Today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates that you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Keith, an action-packed week 10 of college football where we saw draft prospects ball out big time, right? Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, Saturday, mid-evening, and then Saturday night, Keith. So when you look at the draft radar, who's on your radar? What prospect are you matching with the team this week?
DP, my player team matchup for this week, it'll be TreVeyon Henderson, man. This is a player who we both thought would be RB1 coming into this year, right? It was like, okay, I think skill set wise, this guy has the best ability, right? Like his skill set is probably higher than everybody else's, and he had fairly slow start. DP, and you're talking about a slow start, right? You're talking about against Indiana, right? 12 rushes, 47 yards. Youngstown State, 5 rushes, 56 yards. Western Kentucky, 13 rushes for 88 yards, right? But then you turn on the Notre Dame game, and that's when the switch kind of hit DP, and I feel like he fell into a rhythm. So he went 14 carries for 100 yards. Then he finished that up, Wisconsin, 24 carries for 162 yards. And then this past week, DP, 22 rushes for 128 yards against Rutgers. And they're featuring him more in this offense, and they're finally feeding him the football, right? Because not only is the rushing yards going up, right, but it's the carries that's going up, and you see that he's becoming more of a feature part. They try to do this kind of split backfield situation, but now I think it's becoming clear and evident to the coaching staff also who's the better running back, right? And who should we just give the carries to? So I say all that to say this: TreVeyon Henderson with the Washington Commanders, DP. Listen, I think Sam Howell has the goods. I think he's an NFL starting quarterback. That's what I believe at this point, right? I think he's shown that, like, hey, I'm a competent NFL quarterback. Now the ceiling, let's see with him and Eric Bieniemy and what that kind of combination looks like. They have Terry McLaurin, right? They have Curtis Samuel. They have Jahan Dotson. You have the receivers. Now you have to become balanced, DP, that just in case Sam Howell doesn't have his fastball, he doesn't have the curveball going in that game, right? He can still turn around and pass it all to a highly talented running back. Listen, this running back situation has been weird for a couple years, right? They've had, just how the running back share and who they had at running back. It's been a while since they've had a true bell cow at the running back position. Maybe, I don't know, like a difference maker, DP. And I'm thinking about with this Commanders team, has it been since Alfred Morris, right? When he was running for 1,300 yards? When was the last high-level Washington running back? It's
hard to remember.
Yeah,
I feel like it's got to go back some years.
It may be since that point. So I want to give them a high-level running back, TreVeyon Henderson, and maybe you don't have to draft him in the first round. You might be able to get this guy in the second round. You add him into that, and then now I think you have a balanced offense moving forward. All these are young guys. All these are highly talented guys. And then you surround Sam Howell with a good running option and a good receiver core.
And I think to your point too, Keith, Like remember last year they already had Brian Robinson Jr. They in the late rounds they added Chris Rodriguez, who was like, okay, this is redundant because you're not adding any juice or explosiveness or any pass catching ability to your running game, right? Antonio Gibson was supposed to be there. That was the guy Ron Rivera compared to Christian McCaffrey, and we never saw that unfold for this offense, right? So I think you put TreVeyon Henderson in there, and like with this young man's full skill set. Like, and him now he's getting the NFL workload, Keith. I think he's got like almost 60 touches over the last 2 weeks for over 200, 200 total yards of offense for back-to-back weeks. So against Wisconsin and then against Purdue this past weekend, I like that, Keith. I like that a lot. Like I said, at the end of the day, you can pair him with Brian Robinson and allow Brian Robinson to kind of be that more change of pace hammer style, or maybe he's the one toting the rock on your 6-minute offense in the fourth quarter. You're up 10, trying to put away the Dallas Cowboys, Philadelphia Eagles, or the New York Giants in your division.
Cowboys fans are gonna be like, "Why you started with the Cowboys?"
I know. Sorry, Dallas fans. I didn't mean that. But for me, Keith, like I said in the cold open, man, it's very simple. Roman Wilson to the Tennessee Titans. If Will Levis is, one thing that Will Levis has brought back to this Tennessee offense, and Ryan Tannehill never had it, even when he had A.J. Brown, is even with the run game dictating what type of defensive looks you're going to see, right? Because in the NFL today, Keith, what are we seeing from defenses? We're seeing too high covered shells. We're seeing teams saying, no, we're going to play too high. We want to take away the explosive plays. If you're confident and if you are patient enough, slice us, kill us with 1,000 cuts, right? And every offense is not built for that, right? Some guys are like, man, I'm trying to push it. And with Tannehill, he never was able to effectively push the ball down the field and take those one-on-one advantages with the accuracy, things of that nature. Will Levis brings that big, long ball, that big arm, just like the power that he's able to easily generate, man, to push the ball down the field. We saw it his first start against the Atlanta Falcons, right? And we saw the arm talent even Thursday night at times versus the Pittsburgh Steelers, but they don't have any juice, really. Like, you know what I mean? You're trying to isolate DeAndre Hopkins, who can barely separate one-on-one. Joey Porter had him locked in, like, you know what I mean? He was in hell with Joey Porter, man. That young man was playing out of his mind. Treylon Burks can bring you that big boy mentality of being able to go up at the catch point. But that's where, for me, Will Levis was never a great passer outside the numbers unless guys had a step or two. But you know what he's really good at, Keith? The horizontal explosive plays. Going back to his time at Kentucky, whether it was Wan'Dale Robinson, Tavion Robinson, Dane Key, Berrien Brown, those deep crossers and deep benders off the heavy play action, where it's cover one and you got the post coming backside, then you got the deep over coming from the opposite side of the formation. Roman Wilson can fill that need for them, Keith, because they don't have that right now. Kyle Phillips can be that route runner, but they don't have anybody with the speed. And I think Roman Wilson's I would not be surprised if he's a 4.3 guy. I'm pretty sure he ran 4.3 coming out of high school. This is a burner. He's a blazer. And for this offense, if you want to go, Derrick Henry's going to be there. I expect DeAndre Hopkins, who wasn't traded, right? I think they're going to keep both of those guys there next year to continue to lighten the load and allow Will Levis to take baby steps and grow. Well, guys, you got to give him an explosive weapon now. Give him somebody that can stretch the field, right? And you can design things to get Roman Wilson one-on-one outside if you want, right? Reduce split, nasty splits inside the numbers and get him up on the safety. And if that 4.3 kid is running head on to a safety that's in a flat-footed back pedal, let that thing go, Will. Let it ride. You know what I mean? That's what you did versus the Falcons. So I think Roman Wilson, the wide receiver from Michigan, who's emerged as their true wide receiver one, put him in Tennessee, and I feel good about what he can do for that offense.
DP, I like the Roman Wilson and the Tennessee Titans fit, and this is why. When you're talking about Ryan Tannehill, right, and then they're transitioning into the Will Levis era, I feel like if you keep the same weapons and the same ideology, right, and approach with this offensive structure, you may potentially just get Ryan Tannehill out of Will Levis, right? Because we talk about the big arm and the strong arm, but if you don't have the weapons for him to be able to get the ball down the field to those guys, we're kind of seeing a situation of, and then what, right? It's like him having you always talk about superpowers and next level things, but if you can't use them, then he's just a regular person, right? If he doesn't have anybody to take advantage of him, and just even Roman Wilson in the short area field, right? Like the short area quickness and being able to get the ball out to him quickly. This is a guy that give him an easy throw, right? Like if something simple, 5-yard slant, if he's a guy that can take it 40, 50, as a quarterback, you take it. Because you want to know why? It shows up good on your stat sheet, right? So you're definitely taking that thing. And last point, this is the Tennessee Titans, DP. You look at them and the way they're currently constructed, right? And, we just have a little fun with this conversation. They're probably one of the last teams you pick to play with on Madden, right? Because you're like, this is not fun, right? We got to turn around. We got to hand the ball off 40 times to Derrick Henry and then take maybe one shot play, you know what I'm saying, with D-Hop and see what happens, right? That's just not very fun. So I like the ability to add an explosive weapon to the Tennessee Titans. Roman Wilson is that explosive weapon, so I think that's a really good pair. But DP, let's keep this thing going. Let's keep it flowing, man. It's a stock up, stock down conversation that's coming up next. I was telling everybody, man, stay tuned because I'm going to talk some Jaden Daniels. I want to have a really good conversation about this because I'm trying to figure out, right, where do I fall with Jaden Daniels, man? Somebody posted talking about him putting up Lamar Jackson-esque numbers. It's like, am I buying in on that yet, right? So I want to talk about this. So let's talk about Jaden Daniels and his stock up, stock down conversation.
These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. Guys, LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. It's really easy. All you have to do is create a free job post on LinkedIn Jobs, then add your purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. Then you have simple tools at your disposal, like screening questions that make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skill set and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you like to interview and or hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. Guys, LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates that you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Guys, the stock market always opens up every Monday morning here on the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. And Keith, you kind of teased to it, right? Jaden Daniels, right? And he was your make a statement player from Friday's episode. You said he needed to go out and make a statement, Keith. What statement did he make to you?
He made a statement, and a statement is that he's a baller, DP. Now, this is the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, right? So there are different elements to this. Jaden Daniels is a high. He's reached the point to where he's become a high level college quarterback, right? And I don't know if I would have said that 2 years ago when he transferred from Arizona State, right? But he's reached that point. He's developed. This is a really good offense for him. He's reached that point where you can say this is a high level NFL quarterback, right? Now, my question is this, DP. I get stuck, right? Because when we're projecting him to the NFL, is like because he has two really good weapons in Malik Neighbors, right? I would say three, right? Malik Neighbors, their tight end Mason Taylor, right? Like Jason Taylor's son, and then you have Brian Thomas, right? And he throws a beautiful, accurate deep ball, right? Now I'm stuck at is working the intermediate parts of the field. Can he do that? And I talked about the Lamar Jackson comparison, right? I want to transition from the passing to the run game. He has comparable stats to Lamar Jackson and what he's doing in the SEC running the football. DP, but I don't know if I see Lamar Jackson because I see him take some big time hits. And I'm not just talking about the last hit of the game that, ultimately took him out of the game, right? Because he was in the pocket throwing the football. I'm talking about if you go watch LSU football games, like I'm talking about from week 1 with Florida State when they picked him up and threw him out, like he takes big time. Missouri, right? He took another big time hit. He takes big time hit after big time hit. So when I'm projecting him as an NFL draft prospect, I always lean on a film. And you know how I am, DP. I am heavy on like just haven't seen you done it already, right? And he's done it in college football. But I have a little bit of this like you know what I'm saying? Like that's when I get close to DP. I'm like, I don't all the way know where I'm at with Jaden Daniels. So I wanted to say stock up for him I'm just trying to see where am I trying to place that stock. And I thought it was a dope conversation to have, because this is why we do this, right? To have these conversations. And I think as talent evaluators, when we get to this point, I think this is the fun part, right? When we try to all right, we got to really flush this thing out. So DP, I want to get it from your perspective on what I just said, and then just how you playing this game with Jaden Daniels.
Man, I mean, I'm with you. Like he's got to protect himself. Like he takes every single week, he takes some crazy unnecessary shot. It's in the run game. Like he's out in open field. Like you got to protect. He's tough as nails. But I think I saw some throws last night where he's fitting it into tight spaces. He was kind of targeting the middle of the field more, on Saturday night. And just, I think for me, Keith, like he was mostly getting it to Malik Neighbors. You couldn't get Brian Thomas going in that game, right? But that's a really good defense from that Nick Saban has with Alabama. So I think he's a really good college quarterback who has the tools to succeed in the NFL. Now it's the main thing is just like kind of honing him in to, hey, like we're not going to take some of these shots, not going to take some of these chances, right? But I think the arm talent is there. Of course, the mobility. Lamar is such a man. Listen, that's a different dude, man. I'm not trying to put nobody in that stratosphere with Lamar Jackson. So I can't go Lamar there. I saw that tweet though. Somebody even tweeted at me about that. It was like, because I think I saw he's going to run like a 4.48, isn't he? And somebody was like, man, I think he's going to run faster. Somebody invoked Lamar Jackson's name, and I'm like, oof, that's a little rich there, Keith. But I think he's going to be at worst a second round pick and go to a team and have the chance to be their franchise quarterback. Will it reveal itself? We'll see. But I think he's got the tools to do it.
So are you in on it, right? Like, are we talking about like you're optimistic about it? And that's what I'm trying to figure out. Is like, okay, I want to just see if this game is translatable, because Jayden is in a weird spot, right? And I feel like Jayden is almost, I won't say the perfect case study, because we've had a transition, right, from running quarterbacks when you had your Dennis Dixons and like that era, right, where it was running quarterbacks, and then there was a shift, right, to where it was like true dual threats, right, to where now like you got your Josh Allens and your Jalen Hurts and those guys that can actually that can throw the football. Also, does Jaden Daniels have that next level to unlock to be a true dual threat? Because right now I do think he impacts the game with his arm. Don't get me wrong, right? I'm not saying that. But I think the element of him running the football is what changes the game right now. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the part that's kind of becomes the backbreaker. And I want to see, like, is the running ability special enough to where you can put him in that next level of like, okay, this guy will be able to do this in the NFL and be totally fine.
No, man, that's a fair thought, Keith. The just kind of seeing, like watching him, I think he had like over 200 yards passing. He had like 160 or something like that rushing. Like he was truly like emphasized the dual threat ability. But I definitely wanted to see him get the ball to spread the ball out more. Now he had a couple of drops. I think Mason Taylor had a couple of drops in that game.
Yeah, Mason Taylor
been like for big first downs and stuff. So, but just not able to get Brian Thomas. It's typically Malik Neighbors and Thomas going at the same time, and he couldn't get both of those guys operating. The defense didn't allow him to. So, you would definitely like to see that. But Keith, my stock up guy, man, I got to go to Ole Miss. And this is why, again, we talk about wide receivers a lot. This class is loaded.
Keep rolling.
Trey Harris, Keith. Trey Harris, 6'2", 205. He's got 38 receptions, 749 receiving yards, 7 touchdowns, 20 yards per catch. Coming off a game this weekend against Texas A&M, which was a shootout, 38-35, 11 receptions, 213 yards, over 19 yards per catch, and he had a touchdown. Keith, he mossed those defenders multiple times. And for those who are watching on YouTube, they'll be able to see the graphic where he OBJ'd one of those DBs on the sideline. He also OBJ'd in the back of the end zone, but the ball was too high. He grabbed the ball. He just couldn't get his feet in bounds. This young man had some outrageous plays. And when you think about this draft, having the receivers that has the size, NFL size, height, weight, length, athleticism, but also ball skills and leaping ability, you can throw him into that bucket. And the crazy thing about it is, for him to be as productive as he's been and as good as he's been, he doesn't get a lot of talk or a lot of love. And I wanted to make sure we showed him that type of love. Keith, and one more, Ladd McConkey, man. You know what I'm saying? Like for the Georgia Bulldogs, Keith, Ladd McConkey, but he was hurt kind of to start this season. But 2 weeks ago, when he finally got back healthy, he came back against Florida, 6 receptions, 135 yards, 22.5 yards per catch, and a touchdown. This past weekend in a big game versus Missouri, where I truly believe if Ladd McConkey doesn't play, they end up losing this game. 7 receptions, 95 yards, almost 14 yards per catch. This young man is a baller. And for whatever reason, there's a lot of people sleeping on him, not wanting to give him his credit. Now, this young man can run routes. He's an explosive athlete. He's competitive at the catch point. He's got body control and functional strength to play in a myriad of alignments. This young man is one of the better receivers in college football that just doesn't get the love that he deserves.
No, I agree 100%. He was a guy that, and obviously, we have to update things at the Draft Network and everything, but he was a guy that was like, okay, this is a top 100 player. When you actually watch him individually, right, and don't focus on who the quarterback is and the offensive line, you just watch him as an athlete and what he operates, like kind of put it in a vacuum, right? You're like, oh, this dude is very talented. Like this is a really good athlete.
And I think he returns punts and kicks too.
Yeah, yep, he does it all, man. So some team is going to find a gem, man. We'll see if his stock continues to rise, through the draft process, or if he's just going to be a locked on NFL draft guy. But DP, I'm gonna just wrap it up real quick as we transition. Texas wide receiver AD Mitchell, right? Just coming on strong. We know Xavier Worthy, we know Jatavian Sanders, but AD Mitchell is making. You're talking about big wide receivers, DP. There's another guy listed at 6'4", 195 pounds, right? He can take the top off the defense. To say he's so tall, DP, he really gets in and out of his breaks. He's a very smooth and fluid route runner, right? And you really like that. Now, the thing what I want to see is his ability to beat press coverage, right? And because it's a lot of off coverage, the Big 12, how they present things, stuff like that. But man, if you get this guy free access and just let him get into your defense, you're not going to say, wow, that guy's explosive, but he's going to get the job done, right? He's just such a smooth, fluid guy. And then I think his strides, they probably eat up defenders' cushion quicker than what they think, right? Because he's a taller guy and take the top off. So I'm expecting him to put up some good testing numbers also. But DP, let's keep this thing going. Coach DP, Coach K, we're making an appearance, our first appearance of the week, man. We're hopping into that locker room. We're passing out game balls. So stay tuned, see who gets the game ball this week.
We're at the halfway point of the NFL season, guys. Go ahead and score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers, brand new customers, I'm talking about new signee, new signed up, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. Let me repeat that. Brand new customers can get $150 in bonus bets back with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. So first off, if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, first question, why are you thinking? Stop thinking and go do. Next thing is, guys, there's no better time or place to get in on the action. The app is super easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and so much more. So all you have to do is go visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to kick off the NFL season. Go visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to kick off the NFL season, because FanDuel is the official partner of the NFL. Coach K, when you talk about your week 10 of college football, game ball, who you giving it to?
DP, I am going into the Alabama locker room, the Saturday night showdown, DP, and I'm handing it to the quarterback, number 4, Jalen Milroe, right? He went 15 of 23, DP, 219 yards, didn't have any touchdowns passing, didn't have any interceptions, right? But when you look at the rushing numbers, DP, 20 carries, 155 yards, and 4 touchdowns. The young man put it on his back literally and just tucked the football and ran, right? And it's so fun. And I'm glad that this story is turning out like this, right? Because you've seen what happened early, right? He was in an offense that didn't fit him. And those who listen to this podcast know how I feel about coaching arrogance, right? And not fitting the scheme around your players, because you should just be able to evaluate the talent that you have and call plays that fit them. and the maturation process and just how this thing has evolved for Alabama. I think if they played LSU week 2, you're not getting those type of stats from Jalen Milroe, DP, because I don't think they call enough run plays to even do that. But they're finally figuring out who Jalen Milroe is as a player, and he's showing out. So I want to hand him game ball because he put it on his back, right? You don't have any touchdowns throwing, but you also didn't hurt your team with any interceptions either, right? And then to make those key plays running the football, it matters, right? It all counts as another win, and we'll just keep this thing going. We'll keep it forward, and guess what? People are going to want to bring the conversation of Jalen Hurts, stuff like that. Jalen Hurts started off as probably as a throwing quarterback, a running quarterback, right? And had to develop the other element of his passing game. So when I give him the game ball, it's not that, hey, I think this guy should come out in the draft, right? No, I think you should come back at least one more year, right? And continue to work this thing out. But to say that, hey, you are that established threat, and people have to account for you in both aspects of the game. I want to give my game ball to Jalen Milroe. You balled out, man. It was Saturday night. You couldn't lose that game. You knew that LSU's offense was explosive. I think it was the end of the third quarter, and they were losing 28-21, right? And you had to keep your composure and make good plays.
No, he showed that mental fortitude, and just that toughness, right? And you bring up Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts definitely was a running quarterback, and I would say right now, when compared to where they were at the same time, Milroe's a better passer than what Hurts was at the time, because Hurts was still very robotic in his throwing motion and kind of reading the field and everything, and he's made leaps and bounds type of strides. But that's why you have hope for Jalen Milroe as one of the top quarterbacks of the 2025 NFL draft. Not this NFL draft, guys, but next year, because the arm talent is better. He's a more explosive runner in terms of straight line speed than what Jalen Hurts is, and I probably would say he's probably a stronger runner, because that speed that he has with his body type, he doesn't mind. Like, he trucked a couple guys on Saturday night. So I think that's going to be big. Keith, for me, you talk about putting the team on your back. Man, when Washington and USC, they were out there like the 2018 Rams and Chiefs game where it was like 58, whatever, like both teams scored 50. That was one of those games. But you're talking about Dylan Johnson, the running back for Washington, 26 carries, 256 total rushing yards, 4 rushing touchdowns, and and not only was he big and strong and he set the tone, Keith, when he broke through the teeth of the defense, the first level, he was able to open that stride up. And we talked about Kalen Bullock a few times this year, especially in summer scouting, the safety who everybody believes has the best range and best speed at the safety position in the 2024 NFL class. He had to really hit it into hyper gear to catch him and stop him from hitting on some of those long runs that would have been touchdowns, right? But his physicality, the patience, the vision I saw from him, and when they gave him an alley, Keith, this young man had the speed to almost take it a distance if it wasn't for Kalen Bullock turning into the road runner to catch up to him, man. But that was and Michael Penix and those boys, the passing offense was fine. They did what they could do, right? But when they really needed to really ice this game, not even just ice it, be balanced. And remember, I think this was something we talked about a couple weeks ago on the Saturday live stream, which will be back this Saturday after a 2-week hiatus. Washington didn't run the ball a lot. If I remember correctly, they were more.
Yeah, no, we definitely talked about it. They threw the ball all over the yard, and we was just like, when are they going to establish the run? Yep, no, that's definitely.
I mean, it could be an indicator. We know that USC's defense not great. That could be it.
VP, I think that's the other part, right? I think the OC, the offensive coordinator got there. They ran the football. He was like, you know what we're gonna do? Keep running the football, right? If it works, let's keep doing it, man. Because just to
not stopped it yet.
Right, and just that mindset, and you have to think, because you think about it, you on the opposing sideline, you're competing against Caleb Williams, right? So it's like high level matchup. You can probably put up 40 points on the board, right? Like just start USC at 35 to 40 points. So it's like, how do we keep up, right? And sometimes you're like, okay, man, we got to throw to keep up. But to have the mentality to understand that, hey, we could just really run the football and put up crazy points, then that's a whole nother level, unlock, man. And that's just shout out to Dylan Johnson, right, being able to carry that team, because it's very rarely that you see a shootout and then there's a shootout off the back of one of the teams having a rushing attack like that, right? So both
teams ran the ball. Neither one of them wanted to play defense.
Yeah, no, that was not happening, and they just consistently did it. So, but DP, that's Pac-12 football for us, right? We're talking offensive fireworks, man. This is the last year of Pac-12, so we gotta enjoy it while we have it, man. We probably got a couple weeks left of the Pac-12, but DP, talking about enjoying it, man. We enjoy doing this podcast. We enjoy talking to our everydayers, man. I want to say shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping into us, man. I hope that the content is good. I hope that the conversations are good, man, because we're diving into this thing, right? Like it's getting exciting. Like I said, the Jaden Daniels conversation, the Dylan Johnson conversation. We may tomorrow, DP. We may have a Caleb Williams conversation on tap because there's some things that need to be discussed, needs to be addressed with Caleb Williams and just the narrative out there now. But man, I want to say shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in. I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on not Twitter, X. Those on YouTube, we got the thing changed. So we have X now. You can find me on X at DTalentCoach. You can find DP Damian Parson on X at DP_NFL. That's a lot of letters in there, DP. There's a lot of letters in there. But man, I want to say shout out to y'all. Thank y'all for tapping in.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Get the latest episode as soon as it is available. Like you said, thank y'all for being our everydayers and making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. You know that we will have, we got rookie report coming up on tomorrow's show. Like I said, we may get into some Caleb Williams. So you want to stay tuned and see what we have on tap for tomorrow. But come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.